Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here, and today I don't know what I'm talking about. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Play. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please feel Thank you for watching. If you like this video Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here, and I got nothing. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Play. Boy, have I said that so many times over the years, sometimes not so eloquently. And it's just crazy to me to look back at my time on YouTube and see how far I've come. Now, to be fair, I am a slow grower. When I first started back in, I think it was like late 2016, 2017, I put up a couple slideshows and things like that just to dip my toes in the water. And I was in school at the time, and so I was going to class full time and working full time during parts of that. And to think that I'm still here almost 10 years later, like we're getting there, we're getting very close to the 10-year mark. It's crazy to me. It is crazy to me. And I just want to thank those of you who have been here for all these years, and even people who are new to this channel, who have subscribed and have been commenting and have been supporting my journey. I started this as a way to share my own creativity with other creatives and to hopefully inspire other artists and help spur their creativity. Being creative doesn't mean you have to be good at art or good at music or good at whatever the creative hobby you're drawn to. Being creative is just the act of creating. So make a piece of bad art or sing loudly, really badly, which is what I do most of the time. And don't worry about what other people think, because the act of creating itself is what is so therapeutic. I mean, it's a bonus when you get something great out of it, like an end result, that's great. But creating in and of itself is just a wonderful act. So just do it. It has been such a fun creative journey for me as well. And to think that we're at 20,000 subscribers, you know, it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of time. There's been times when I haven't been able to be consistent. There's been times when I have had many technical difficulties, and I've just kept pushing, and so have you, those of you who have been here for a long time. So I just want to thank everybody who is here and who has been here, and to all of you who are new, welcome. Thank you as well. I like to do a lot of creative things here. I like to play with a lot of different art supplies, and I'm really mainly sharing my own artistic journey, but I really want to find ways to help you as well. And so there's a mix of different content here. Okay, so I have my phone here because we are going to do a Q&A. Now, the first few questions are going to involve my artwork, and then we're going to get into some questions about art supplies because Lord knows I have a lot of them. And in between, I'm going to be sharing some little tidbits about some of my favorite moments on the channel and some bloopers and some fun memories. And so let's just get down to it. Taylor says, that is so awesome, Shanna. Are there certain pieces that you've done that you feel more connected to? And I love this question because yes, absolutely. Like, absolutely. There's definitely some pieces that I will never sell. Either they have a close place in my heart memory-wise. As you know, I work mostly from my own reference photos, so a lot of the things that I'm drawing and painting are memories of mine. But I do have to say that my favorite pieces are portraits that I've done of my loved ones. I don't do a lot of portraiture anymore. It's just not something that interests me as much, and because I work mostly from my own reference photos, that usually means I'm drawing people I know, and, you know, I just keep drawing the same people over and over again. I've done a ton of self-portraits for the same reason, but the portrait of my father, it will always, actually, I've done multiple portraits of my father. Those always will have a special place in my heart. I'm very close with my dad. The portrait, the color pencil portrait of my husband, obviously, for obvious reasons. And of course, the portraits I've done of my niece and my nephews, I've done multiple portraits of them over the years. Those will always hold a very special place in my heart. I do think that this is a good place for me to talk about projects that I really enjoy on YouTube too. Not just art projects that I've done, but certain videos that I've done, because I have been, of course, looking back in preparation for this video on the different videos I've done on YouTube over the years. And I've done a lot of fun and kooky things. Like, I painted this Bob Ross Chia Pet. He is one of my absolute favorite projects I've ever done on the channel. It's an older video. The footage, it's not wonderful, and I'm sure the audio isn't either, but boy, do I love him. And now he's like a cameo. He's got a cameo part in like all my videos because he's just rad. And I have a Bob Ross statue because I did it. And the collaborations I've done recently, the recent Secret Santa artist collab that I did where I made the strawberry box for my friend Kara, and I love that strawberry box. I'm like, I should have made a second one for myself. I still want to make a blueberry one, so if that's something you're interested in seeing, let me know. And then, obviously, the Create This Book 3 collab, that was a fantastic video. A lot of you have probably found me through those collaborations. Just such a great experience, and those projects also led me to making a lot of friends here on YouTube as well, and so I will always love those projects. Anytime I've customized something, I've had a lot of fun. They don't do as well on my channel. Like, my channel does best with pencil videos, I think, but so, like, anytime I've customized something, like I did my box that I created, a creativity box, where I customized the box and I put different, like, papers for inspiration. I loved that one when I redid the Scrabble board. Those are some of my favorite YouTube projects that are really special to me. And then, of course, you know, some videos where I do, one of my favorite series is Let's Talk Art, where I talk about just various art topics like, you know, conserving your artwork or taking your own photos, things like that, general art topics. Again, those videos don't necessarily do great on the channel, but they're still some of my favorite videos. So as far as that kind of project that's special to me, those would be what the ones on my channel are special to me. But as far as the art projects themselves, it's mostly going to be the ones that are involving the people that I love the most. Cheryl says, congratulations, Shanna, on 20K subscribers. Woohoo! My question is two-part. What is your favorite piece of artwork that you have for sale on your website, and why is it your favorite? So some of you may know that I do actually have a website and I do sell my originals. So thank you, Cheryl. First of all, thank you for the congratulations. And I want to thank you personally because I know that you've been here for a long time and we've interacted a lot in our comments, and I appreciate you. So I do have some of my originals for sale, and I also sell prints on Fine Art America. As far as my originals go, it's really hard. I think I have to say that my favorite on my website right now is a piece called Autumn is My Favorite. It is a still life that I did. It's a fall still life with apples and corn, and I did it with various colored pencils. And it's one of my favorite realism pieces. I had so much fun with it. It was one that I had been planning to do for a very long time, and I almost wasn't sure if I wanted to sell it. And so it's there, it's on the website, and I love it. And it's probably between that one and my round landscape painting that I did as part of my Sky series, because I've already sold a lot of the paintings from my Sky series, but this one was just so much fun. I love working on a round canvas, and that one has a special place in my heart as well because I did that when I was still in school, and I have a lot of happy memories involving my thesis project, which was my Sky series, and so that one's up there as well. But, you know, I kind of dig all of them. I'm pretty happy with them, so I will link my website in the description below. I do not ship outside of the US, but yeah, I'll link that so that you can see everything that I have on there. I don't promote it much, but it's there. Queen Rhea, or Queen Raya, I apologize if I mispronounced that. You know that you're one of my faves, right? And I appreciate you, so I apologize if I mispronounced that. Yay, congrats! My question, what are your influences, artists or styles that have inspired and influenced you? Now, I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna lie. This one's gonna be another long answer, and I actually took some notes on this one. So, my first love when it comes to art is Claude Monet. Bar none. I've always wanted to be an artist ever since I was little, but I think my first distinct memory of learning about an artist was Monet. It was like in 5th grade. Monet and Surratt, like my 5th grade art. No, it wasn't even my art teacher. It was just my regular 5th grade teacher. She had posters hanging in our classroom of their art. And there was just something about Monet's work that I thought, even as my little like 10-year-old self, like, I want to do that. And it's funny because I don't do Impressionism now, but I definitely have learned so much about color and light and contrast from the Impressionists. And now that I've been getting into more plein air painting, I feel closer to Claude Monet than ever, even though my plein air work, it's not on the same level, not in any way. But yeah, so Claude Monet was my first love when it comes to art. But of course, as I've gone on, I've learned a lot more about other artists. I am highly inspired by artists who have strong ties to Maine because I'm from Maine. So the Wyeth family, I'm inspired by them. I love Andrew and Jamie most specifically. I think Andrew's probably my favorite. Jamie's fantastic as well. And C was also obviously incredible. Winslow Homer, pretty much anybody who has strong ties to Maine. More contemporary would be Rackstraw Downs, incredible landscape artist, and has also come to Maine and painted. I'm also highly inspired by pretty much any woman artist because there's so many that haven't been talked about enough. Obviously, we all know of the icon Frida Kahlo, and her work was incredible. The way she represented her life through symbolism and all the adversity that she went through. Georgia O'Keeffe, very similar, very strong, woman energy, girl power. Like, that's how I feel. More contemporary would be Judy Chicago with The Dinner Party. If you don't know what The Dinner Party is, you need to check it out. It is this really cool, like, nod at history, at women in history. And each woman has a place setting, and each place setting is themed around that woman right down to the placemat. Like, it's incredible. It's an incredible work of art, and I love that so much. I just thought it was so iconic. And then there are a few people that I learned about in school, like Janet Fish, who has like incredible still life art, and Catherine Murphy. Like, they're just incredible representational artists. And of course, I do mostly representational art, though I learned a lot about abstract expressionism in school. And I loved that movement as well because I loved, the feeling behind it. And then as far as like what has really directly influenced my work over the years, Aliona Nicholson, for instance, her colored pencil painting Bible pretty much changed my life because I am somebody who loves to play with different art supplies. So around 2014, and I'm not going to get into the full story behind this, but those of you who know, I actually had a series of dreams that led me to wanting to try colored pencil. And so I'm a little bit woo-woo sometimes, but it is what it is. And I had been looking into getting colored pencils, and when I looked on Amazon, I was like, I want to buy some Prismacolors. Her book popped up. So I bought that book, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And she also has come out with her own series of products that I use on a regular basis. So Aliona Nicholson has also been a huge inspiration for me. So there's a lot. There's absolutely a lot. And then to add on to this very, very long-winded answer, I think because we are talking about YouTube in this video, I should probably mention who my influences on YouTube are. And the first person I want to recognize here is Lisa Clow. I did not know that YouTube for artists was a thing. I was a 90s, 2000s baby. I was outside. I was not on the internet. I didn't get we had internet at my house, but I was raised in a time when you were hanging out outside with your friends. I didn't have a cell phone until I was an adult. I was not somebody who knew that I knew YouTube existed, but it was not a thing in my world growing up. So I didn't have anybody teaching me art that way. I didn't even know it was a thing. So after I got into colored pencil, I had already been on Facebook sharing my artwork for a while before then. And I had started getting into all kinds of groups to share my colored pencil work on Facebook, and I ended up in the Lacquerie artist group on Facebook. And that's when I started seeing Lisa's videos. And I realized, wow, this is something that artists do. Like, this is another creative outlet that I could probably get into. And this also coincided with the time that I had my friend Sierra at work. She's not an artist, but she was really like appreciated my art. And she was always trying to find different ways that I could promote myself. And she's the one that told me to get on Instagram. But she had also been telling me, you need to start recording your artwork because I would love to see how you create. So all this kind of coincided together. I started watching Lisa's stuff, and it really like gave me the confidence to try it myself, because she and I have a lot in common with the ways we like to create and how we think about art and things like that. So that was my number one influence when it came to even starting a YouTube channel. And then, of course, I started watching Lindsay Wyrick, the Frugal Crafter, and Harry from the Art Gear Guide. He's just fantastic. He's the most down-to-earth person you'll ever meet. He was actually the first art YouTuber who reached out to me and like showed his appreciation for me, and his encouragement for me. And I'll never forget that. He had like reached out he had commented on something on like Facebook or Instagram, and I was like blown away. It was amazing. And then Jason Morgan, I came up around the time that, all these videos were big. And so I have a lot of influence from Harry because of his reviews, and a lot of influence from Jason because of, the type of art he shows on his channel, and the same with Lisa. And, they're all just fantastic. So those are my main influences, both artistically and YouTube-wise. Karen asks, what is your earliest memory of creating art other than in coloring books? So my earliest memory, because I have been legitimately creating as long as I can remember. My mom writes about it in my baby book. It goes like up to 5 years or whatever. And so my first distinct memory though, and I don't still have this drawing, I believe I was like 4. And because I think I was in kindergarten, and I went to kindergarten young. I remember drawing a giant, and he had a red face, and he had blue jeans on, and there was a little tree next to him. Me and my trees. I love me some trees. I've been putting trees in my artwork since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. But that, showed scale. He was this big giant guy, and the tree was little, and he was red because he was mad. And I don't know whatever happened to that drawing, but I do know it was with markers. Like, I think it was probably just with, regular Crayola markers. And that's my first distinct memory. But the oldest artwork I have on hand, and I will pop it up so you guys can see it, is a self-portrait that I did, which now that I'm looking back, it had to have been 3rd grade. And the reason why I know that it was 3rd grade is because I looked at my 3rd grade picture, and I'm wearing the outfit in my 3rd grade picture that I'm wearing in my little self-portrait. It was a all about me project that we had to do in school. So we drew ourselves, and then we had to write about myself. I like my bike, and I like whatever. And so I have to laugh because the things that I chose to draw, like, I've always been a sucker for details. There is a tree. That's life. And grass. I had to put all these details in. But the thing that really made it so that I could figure out how old I was when I drew this in reference to my picture, and I didn't look at the picture to draw it. I might have been wearing that outfit that day in school too. Maybe it was picture day when I drew it. Who knows? But anyway, the shirt that I wore in my 3rd grade picture has a pearl, a rose, a pearl, a rose, a pearl, a rose. And I drew a pearl and a rose and a pearl and a rose down the center. And that's how I knew that that's when this, this is my way of doing carbon dating on my artwork. But anyways, I just find it so funny. And then even from that age to the next age, I had already started like doing like my first series of things and started like playing with watercolors not long after that. I think I was like 8 or 9 when I started playing with watercolors and started my first series and did like, it was called Many Faces, Many Cultures, because I wanted to draw and paint people with different skin tones and glasses and mustaches and like, so anyways, I have a lot of memories of creating, and it started really, really early, but I will always remember that giant, even though I don't have it anymore. And my self-portrait, I mean, come on, that was just uncanny. So the next few questions are going to be involving the bread and butter of this channel, art supplies. Okay, so maybe I get a little too excited about new art supplies. So Michelle says, so happy for you, Shanna. My question is, how do you make time to use all your supplies? Do you try to rotate through different mediums based on what you feel drawn to at a given time? And what about the supplies that you don't use? So that is a very good question. And to be truthful, it is difficult. It is difficult. I have a lot of different interests when it comes to art supplies. I'm a mixed media artist. I love everything. I want to be a master of everything from graphite to oil paint. No, I can't say that I'm a master, but you know what I mean. Like, I want to dabble in everything. I want to play with everything, and I want to create art in any way I can. Now, it is a little bit difficult because I also work outside of the home. This is not my full-time job. So I'm not able to play with art supplies as much as I wanted. And even if I was a full-time artist and YouTube content creator, there's so much that goes into the business side of things that none of us are all just sitting around playing with art supplies all day. And when you have an exorbitant amount of art supplies, there are some that don't get used as often as others. I mean, that's just the truth to it. However, I do try to rotate through on the channel a lot. You'll see me go back and forth, especially with the more popular things on the channel. That can be difficult as well. Pencils and some watercolors do pretty well. But it's mostly pencils and watercolor pencils right now that are popular on my channel, and a little bit of oil pastel. It's difficult because you want to create videos that people are going to watch. And so I'm not always able to use the supplies that I would like to on the channel. However, I do still keep them around so I can use them in my sketchbook and in personal drawings. Like recently, you saw me post a video where I painted a frog in acrylics. And that was one of those projects that I had going on in the background while I was filming the more popular kinds of content for my channel. So I usually have at least one big project going on in the background of things, or I'm working in my sketchbook. It may not be on camera. So the supplies are getting used even if it doesn't seem like it on camera. However, if I do have supplies that I don't find myself reaching for a very long time, or that I'm not really that interested in anymore, or they just weren't what I thought they would be, I do tend to give them away or donate them. My sister has kids. They're all fairly creative in her family. So I've given her and her kids some of my supplies in the past. I have other creative friends that I will give the supplies to if they're being unused. And there are times when I will go through the studio and kind of do a sweep and cull out supplies. And I have gotten together a big batch of them in the past and brought them to my old college, the art department at the school that I went to, because I remember what it was like to be a broke art student in a department that doesn't have as much funding as other departments do. So that's something else that I've done in the past as well, is donate a ton of supplies so that the art students can use them at the university that I went to. So they do eventually get used by somebody. Jan says, congrats, Shanna. You are one of the few OG artists I really love on YouTube, like Lacree, Lisa, or Harry. I feel you should have way more than 20,000 subscribers. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. My question would be, which art supply do you dislike the most? And a challenge, if I may be so bold, to do an artwork on a t-shirt or shoes with your Inktense pencils. Your Inktense work is among the best that I have seen. Thank you so much. And that challenge does sound like a lot of fun. I have been wanting to use them on fabric for a long time because that is one of the selling points of the Derwent Inktense. They are known to be also good on fabric, but I haven't really tried it that much because I don't do a lot of fiber art on my channel. But I will have to see, like, maybe I can get some of the, like, white canvas shoes or something to customize. That would be a lot of fun. So I'll definitely look into that. Now, as far as supplies that I dislike or I'm disappointed in, there's not a lot. you know, I think I have to have realistic expectations for different art supplies depending on, you know, you might get a student grade art supply. um, there's only been a couple things, and one of them you saw recently on my channel, the Marino Aquarelle pencils by Cretacolor. Boy. Oh, they were really something. You can watch that video on the channel and you'll see why I dislike those. They just weren't as saturated as I was hoping, and you couldn't layer them. So, another one that I have never posted about is the Derwent ChromaFlow. I had bought them when they first came out, and this was before they released light fast ratings on them, which made me particularly grumpy because I'm like, come on, Derwent. They didn't want to compete with their own light fast pencils. So they hadn't released the light fast information on them. And at the time they were more expensive than Prismacolor, and all the colors I had kept breaking. My soul almost left my body. I was so upset because I love Derwent. Like, nobody can deny a lot of my videos involve Derwent products. So I was like, oh, another Derwent product. Yay. Nay. No. Like, I had such a shit experience with them. I ended up giving them to my niece, and she was young at the time. It never made it to the channel. I never finished filming because I was so aggravated. I felt to myself, Derwent, if you're going to put out a product that is supposed to compete with Prismacolor, it damn well better not break as much as a Prismacolor. Like, let's not copy their quality control mistakes, all right? Like, point number one. And they were breaking left and right. I couldn't sharpen them. They were breaking when I was using them. I've never seen anything like it from Derwent. And maybe they've improved now. And I have heard, I know a ton of artists love these supplies, so please don't come at me. Like, again, I love Derwent, so don't come at me. If you love them, great. I'm so happy for you. My other issue, again, at the time, now they've released light fast ratings since, and they have pretty good light fast ratings on them. But at the time, they hadn't released that information. And then they were more expensive than Prismacolors. I'm like, I will stick with my Prismacolors where I know what I'm getting. They have light fast ratings, and if they break, whatever. And at the time, Prismacolor was cheaper. So I was like, why? What was the point in this pencil? You already have 8 million pencils. You already had your studio and your artist pencils, which were considered your more student grade pencils. You have the Color Soft, which were supposed to be soft like Prismacolor. You have the Derwent Light Fast, which are just amazing. You have the Pro Color, which were kind of a flaw. Like, you already have enough pencils. Like, why are we doing this? I don't know. I had a bad experience. Sorry about the rant, but there's that. I think it was mainly disappointing because it was Derwent, and I love my Derwent so much. And so I didn't even finish the video. I might have the footage still somewhere, just unused footage. Maybe I'll pop something in so you can see me grumbling. Off to a great start. Just had one break in the sharpener. In the Derwent sharpener. The sharpener that I just used to sharpen a Prismacolor with, and the Prismacolor didn't break. Those are the ones that I can think of right now. And then there's some things like certain brushes, like, you know those kids' brushes that have the plastic bristles? Why do those exist? What is the point? Like, they're not absorbing water. You can't get any sort of smooth stroke. And I'm saying this as a child, as somebody who, when I was a kid, I've painted since I was a kid. I legitimately have wanted to be an artist my whole life. I had all those little art kits when I was a kid. That's how I started, just like most of us, right? I threw those brushes out even as a kid. When I was like 7, I taught myself how to paint with Q-tips because I was not messing around with those brushes. Stop making them. Stop wasting the plastic. Like, let's just not do this anymore. So that's another one that I hate. Like, why? Like, there's no reason for them. But again, as a more professional artist now, I wouldn't have a use for them anyways, but don't even do that to your children. Lindsay asks, she says, congratulations, Shanna. And she says, my question is, what are your top 5 art supplies, product and brand? Now, this one is hard. This one's hard, folks. But I think you guys aren't going to be surprised by some of the answers. Now, I have to say, my favorite brands of things, it varies depending on what medium I'm working with, but as a general rule, my favorite brands are Holbein, obviously, I'm a brand ambassador for them, and Legion for the paper. And Derwent, even though I just talked a lot of smack about the ChromaFlow. Faber-Castell, obviously. And then as far as acrylics go, I love me some Daler Rowney and Golden and Holbein, and, you know, so I love a lot of different brands. But let's try to narrow this down by supply. Now, colored pencils, acrylics, oil pastels, watercolors, and I guess I'd have to say, am I missing one? Graphite. You know, graphite's a good classic. So as far as colored pencils go, my favorite brands, like, I can't pick just one, Lindsay. I just can't do it. Holbein, Derwent Lightfast, Derwent Drawing, and I still love my Prismacolors. Like, if I have to choose one above all of them and I was going with a sentimental answer, like, obviously, I love my Holbeins. I love my precious Holbeins. My Holbein video, when I first bought the Holbein colored pencils, that opened up a whole new world for me. And so I will forever be grateful to Holbein and their wonderful supplies and the wonderful people that I get to work with, because now I get to do workshops for them, and that has been a fantastic experience. That's another one of those experiences and doors that having YouTube opened up for me. But if I'm going to go with, like, sentimental wise, I have to go with Prismacolor, because that's what I started with. That's the pencil that made me fall in love with colored pencil. When I first started with colored pencil, there weren't as many options. You couldn't get Holbein in the US. Faber-Castell was popular at the time, the polychromos. They were gaining more popularity as I came into the colored pencil business. But at the time, Prismacolor was the pencil in the US. Like, it was really readily available in the US. It was shortly before they went to crap and started being made in a different factory. And they are what made me realize that you can do the kind of work I do with colored pencil. They are what made me realize that colored pencils aren't just for kids. And so I do have to say that I still love me some Prismacolors. I don't approve of I don't approve of the way they're made sometimes. I don't necessarily like the fact that they want to break on me, but I do feel like I've had less issues with them than other people have, and I'll always hold a special place in my heart for them. Okay, so this is future Shanna here while I'm editing. I'm such a dingbat. I meant to mention Derwent Inktense. Like, that was the top of my mind when I first saw this question. I don't know how I forgot, but obviously Derwent Inktense is in my top 5 favorite art supplies. I don't even know what I was thinking. So then let's talk a little bit about acrylics. It's kind of the same situation. I have access to a lot of different acrylics now. Golden is one of my top favorite. I have a lot of Golden across the board. I recently shared my acrylic tour video, but I have to say, you know, I started when I was like 12 or 13 with acrylics, maybe even a little bit younger, and I started with like apple barrel paints. But the first like artist grade, you know, or professional feeling acrylic I ever used, and I still use them today, are the Daler Rowney System 3 acrylics. Now, they're not the highest end of them, but they're not the lowest end either. Daler Rowney has some student grade acrylics that I don't get down with, but they're System 3s. They're like a nice medium bodied acrylic, and I still use them to this day. I love them. I've been able to do anything that I've needed to do with them. I love me a good medium bodied paint. So, and sentimental wise, I've been using those since I was a teenager. And so, you know, I'm a sentimental fool. And then my oil pastels, that's easy. That's the Van Gogh oil pastels. I love them particularly on a sanded paper. They might be different on other papers, but they blend beautifully on a sanded paper, and I'm able to layer colored pencils on top of them, which is important to me. Watercolors, my top favorite watercolors are the Holbein watercolors because I'm a control freak. And they don't have Oxgall or a color dispersant in their watercolors, and they are based on the traditional Japanese brush painting style, and so you can get nice fine lines with them and nice detail with them, and I like that control. However, conversely, my second favorite are the core watercolors for the opposite reason, because sometimes you just want to get messy and you want to watch the paint flow and you want to see the watercolors be watercolors, and the core are beautiful and vibrant. You know, Golden is one of my top favorite companies anyways, I think, because, you know, again, with the acrylics. So I do love me some core. So I usually bring like a palette of each when I'm going plein air painting, because I'm like, how am I feeling today? But yeah, I'd say my most used is probably the Holbein. And then as far as graphite goes, you know, you can get away with a lot with graphite. I love me a good classic graphite from General Pencil Co. They have very inexpensive supplies, but they have beautiful supplies. And so you can do a lot with that. Like, I recently used their Kimberly, like a set that I've had since I was a teenager, their Kimberly graphite. Works beautifully. I used it on panel, actually. It was really cool. And so you can get away with getting a fairly inexpensive graphite and still create beautiful artwork. And then one of my other favorite kinds of graphite is the Graphitint by Derwent, because it's got that beautiful tint of color with it. And I don't think anybody does tinted graphite the way that Derwent does. And so you've seen me use that on the channel as well. I absolutely love the Graphitint as well. Liz says, congrats. Question: what's an art supply you are intimidated by or not ready to try yet? So this one's hard because I always want to try so many different things, but I think I'm going to have to go with encaustics. I have been aware of their existence for a very long time. I had a professor in school who was really good with encaustics, and, you know, it looks like a really intriguing and interesting medium to me, but my controlling personality, I don't know if I would know what to do with them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I would have a hard time, because I would want to create something representational. And you can create representational art with encaustics. My friend Jenna from school, oh my God, she was amazing when it came to that. She would do things like melt crayons with a hot glue gun and make fantastic artwork. She had this carrot. I think it was a carrot. We had it at the art walk. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I'm like, how do you do that, girl? Like, so I'd have to go with encaustics. I think it's a really intriguing medium. I love what other people are doing with it. I don't really need to try and be getting into any other new mediums, although lately I've been wanting to get back into sculpting, so that's going to be a whole other thing. The investment in everything that I would need to do to start in encaustics, when I have no idea, I would have no idea what the heck I was doing. So I think that one is probably the one that intimidates me a little bit. I just don't know what I would do. Angela from Clark Fine Art asks, congratulations. You and 3 of your artist friends are marooned on an island. I wonder which 3 artist friends this would be, Angela. What's the one art supply you are bringing, and what do you hope they will have? Okay, so I've actually thought about this quite a bit. As many of you know, me, Lindsay Wyrick, Angela Clark, and Karen Clark like to get together and paint together. They're my art besties, and we go out and have all kinds of adventures. And so that's who she's referring to. And we all get down with some mixed media, but those 3 ladies are more kind of like watercolor girlies, and but they also dabble in other things. And so this was what I'm thinking. I would want to bring my Inktense pencils because they are super versatile. I could use them as a colored pencil, but I could wet them down if I need to. And I would want Angela to bring her monstrous, I don't even know, I can't even remember how many, she's got this palette. Let me tell you, I don't even know. It is humongous, of Daniel Smith, and I think it's core watercolors. And there's like 100 something colors there. She can bring that because she can be supplying us for the rest of our lives. And then I would want Lindsay to bring some of the, because she's also a watercolor girl, but she's great with oil pastels. And since I'm not bringing my oil pastels, I need somebody else to bring oil pastels. So I would have Lindsay bring her oil pastels because she has quite the variety and she definitely has enough to share and go around. And I would want Karen to bring gouache because she is just a natural at gouache. It's amazing. She's amazing with her watercolors too. But I am somebody who, when I first started with gouache, it took me a little bit to wrap my mind around it because I came from an acrylic background at that point. And to watch her just pick up some gouache, or, you know, she's great with acrylic gouache too, but pick up some gouache and do the things she does. I'm like, lady, you're a natural. So she has to bring the gouache because somebody else already brought the watercolor. So she has to bring the gouache. So those are my choices. And hopefully paper is just included automatically. Like, otherwise we'll be painting and drawing on tree bark. Okay, so that was my little Q&A, and I am just so happy to be here. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video and getting to know me and my art influences and some of the fun, different things that I have done on this channel. Like, I hope you have liked reminiscing with me and getting to know me more. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate all of you who have been on this journey with me, those who have influenced me, those who have supported me along the way and watch my videos. I know some of you will watch my videos even if it's about an art supply or a subject matter that isn't your thing. I've seen comments of that. I really appreciate all of you doing that. And thank you all for asking me questions. This has been a lot of fun. I will see you next week. You have a fantastic day. Bye.